Great. I'm glad and grateful to God for being here this morning. Secondly, I want to thank the management of this television station for the invitation. My name is Victor Ochieng. I'm a teacher of English and literature by profession. And apart from being a teacher, I'm also a published author and a writer. I publish books and I also contribute in the Saturday Nation on matters literature and topical issues that touch on schools. And apart from writing, I also work and walk with secondary schools in Kenya in the capacity of a consultant, a trainer, and a speaker. I'm here this morning to explore how children can remain focused while learning from home. As all of us are aware that our children are at home because of the negative impacts of COVID-19. And therefore, I want just to guide learners wherever they are on how to remain focused in this life skills lesson. So, basically, we begin with focus. Focus. And when we begin with focus, I want us to reflect on a story of an Indian sage that wanted to teach his two disciples on the art of archery. He called the first disciple and placed a bird on a twig and asked the disciple, "What do you see?" And the disciple said, "I see the sky, I see the tree, I see the bird, I see the eye of the bird." And the Indian sage asked the disciple to shoot. But when the disciple did that, he did not manage to hit the bird. He had to call the second disciple and told him, "Can you shoot?" And before, of course, he asked the disciple, "What do you see?" And he said, "I see nothing but the eye of the bird." When he managed to shoot, he actually managed to shoot the eye of the bird. Why did he manage to shoot and why did he manage to hit the eye of the bird? It is because he had the power of focus. And that is what learners need to know, that as they are holed up in their homes because of COVID-19, as you are at home, you are learning from home, you ought to remain focused. And parents and guardians ought to help learners to remain focused. We know it is not easy to do this at home because at school, we know that there are programs, there are routines that help us to remain focused. But when we are at home, we can say that the rules are a bit flexible. The rules are not that strict and stringent the way they are at school. But all the same, we can still remain focused. So we must remain focused while learning from home. Then we ought to understand what learning from home is all about. The learning that occurs at home is not like the one that occurs at school. At school, we have the teachers, we have the timetable, and we have everything that governs learning. But when we are at home, we can say that a child ought to remain focused, ought to remain self-driven, because sometimes no one will be there to push you. No one will be there to remind you to do what is good and right. So, what are the learning avenues while we are at home? Because basically what you are trying to say is that it is not mandatory that we ought to be in school. That is when learning can continue. Learning can take place even at home. But it can only take place if in case we get to know some of the avenues that we can explore. And one of them is like what is happening now. Being able to watch a program being aired live on television. Number two, you can listen to the programs aired on radio. We have also avenues to do with Zoom. So we have TV, we have radio, we have Zoom. What basically you need to do is to download the Zoom app, and you realize that we have schools with teachers that teach learners through Zoom. We also have what we call the Google Meet, or basically what we call the Google Classroom. And apart from Google, we also have YouTube. We have teachers or tutors who have managed to record lessons. Then they have uploaded them on YouTube channel. So basically what you need to do is to get to YouTube and learn. Now, apart from what teachers do, basically these learning sites have a way that they enhance learning. Whether it is aired live or it is not aired live. Like for instance, when you go to the YouTube channel, you realize that you can access speeches, phenomenal speeches delivered by great orators of all time. You can watch documentaries. So you can use media responsibly to be able to learn even from home. Now, that means that we are underscoring the essence of learning from home. And that means that parents are supposed to help their children to learn. That means that we should come up with a way on how learning can occur in a particular day. When the child wakes up in the morning, let us come up with a way on how they can learn during the day. And this can only be attained if in case we attain a beautiful balance between learning and home chores, because children will have to attend to home chores, but it is not just about attending to home chores. It is also about them getting ample time to learn. Now, when we talk about learning, we should know that basically it is the way it happens during holidays. So, I know there are schools that give out assignments that ought to be done. There are schools that give out notes that ought to be read. Very, very important. And apart from the notes and the assignments that are given out by the schools, it is also important to know that you as a student or as a pupil, you should come up with your own way of doing things. You should come up with your learning program, your study schedule, your timetable on how you go about all these things. For instance, if you're a Form 3 and a Form 4, you should create ample time and read this literary set texts, both in English and in Kiswahili. So you'll not have an excuse when you go back to school after the death of COVID-19. You'll not have an excuse, or you'll not say that you didn't have time to read these set texts. You had all the time in the world. Those who are in Form 2 and Form 1, they also need to know that they need to read class readers so that they polish their grammar skills and their writing skills. We have textbooks that ought to be read. And apart from reading the set texts, the textbooks, the class readers, the storybooks, we also have what we call self-help books that you can read. And at this particular time, you need to actually explore these books. We remember people like Dr. Ben Carson, that used to perform poorly in school until the mother, Sonia Carson, had to introduce Ben to the wonder of books. The mother told Ben that, Ben, from now henceforth, you'll have to read a book per week, and not just read a book, but also write a synopsis or write a summary of what you have read. And when Ben Carson listened aptly to the advice of the mother, Ben Carson's performance changed. And someone who used to perform poorly, who used to be at the skid row of this class, managed to come up. And as we speak now, we know that Ben Carson, if you have read Think Big, Gifted Hands, The Big Picture, and all that, you realize that now Ben Carson is one of the top-notch neurosurgeons in the world. And apart from being a neurosurgeon, he's also one of the greatest authors in America. He has written best-selling books. So learning from home is not just about doing the assignments given out by the school, reading the notes. It is also about exploring the wonder of books, developing a strong reading culture. Because books basically are not just pieces of papers put together, but they are living ideas that can change your life. Personally, reading has changed my life. When I was a Standard 7 boy, and our teacher of English introduced us to reading of books, and I took it seriously, I managed to write very good compositions. And when I sat for my KCPE, I got a very good grade in English. When I went to high school, I also explored our school library and also the library of the church that had stocked very good books. And the same trend went on and on, even up to the university level. And that's why I managed to become an author and a writer per se. So I want to urge children at home, wherever you are listening to me, that you need to build a strong reading culture. Learning from home means that you read. You read avidly, you read voraciously, because reading will enhance the mastery of content. You'll be a king of content if in case you purpose to read. Apart from content, you will also polish your communication skills. You'll gain good grammar. You'll gain confidence simply because you know how to express yourself. Your self-esteem will come up because you know what you're saying and you have what to say when you are with other people. Very, very important. You'll also boost your creativity, and you'll enhance mastery of concepts and content as I've captured. Now, when we talk about this, I still want to underscore the role of parents in enhancing learning from home. There's a meme that was going around last month of a parent who tried to explain to his son about the difference between email and Gmail. And the parent went further to say that it is email when electricity is used, and it becomes Gmail when a generator is used. You look at this, I know that you may not have a lot to tell your child as far as learning from home is concerned. But as the Cabinet Secretary of Education captured it when he was issuing his latest press statement, he said that you teach your child what you know. There are a lot of things that young people ought to know. Even out of bookwork, out of academics, they need to know matters to do with hygiene. They need to know issues to do with health, how to attend to home chores. There are some who even don't know how to wash clothes. They don't know how to cook. even how to cook water. When they asked to cook ugali, they cook porridge. When they asked to cook porridge, they cook ugali. So it is now high time that parents ought to make good use of this time and teach their children what they know. If they are in a rural setup, teach them how to go to the shamba, how to dig, how to milk the cow, because basically this is part of learning. Teach them what you know. Now, back to learners, I want to give you 3 basic Ds that will help you remain focused while learning from home. The first D that I want us to focus on is discipline. Discipline. The second D is diligence. Diligence. The third G that I want us to explore, the third D that I want us to explore is determination. Determination. Now, if you master these 3 Ds, they will help you to remain focused while learning from home. So the first one is discipline. Discipline is required in all spheres of life. Not only in school, but also in other aspects of life. For instance, an elite athlete will tell you that it is discipline that makes him or her to bag the big prize. It is about discipline. The good book says in Proverbs chapter 12, Proverbs 12 verse 1, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. When you love discipline, you love knowledge. And for us to understand discipline, we know that a lot of things have been said about discipline, and when you're at school, I know the deputy principals, they keep on talking about discipline, which they define as doing the right thing at the right place, in the right way, at the right time. They explore it as following rules and regulations, etc., etc. But for us to understand discipline, it is important to look at different forms of discipline. And I have 4 basic forms of discipline that I would want to bring to the fore. One is what we call self-discipline. Self-discipline. Now, self-discipline is also what we call self-conquest. Self-conquest. Now, self-discipline is all about the ability to conquer yourself. And victory in life begins with self-conquest. There are a lot of things that you ought to conquer while learning from home, which basically are all about self-discipline. And I want learners to listen aptly and to listen good. What are some of these things that you ought to conquer, which are part and parcel of self-discipline? You need to conquer a lot of sleep. I know being at home, it is not the way it is done at school. Maybe at school, you ought to wake up at 4 a.m. in the wee hours. You ought to wake up at 5. But at home, as I captured at the front end of this presentation, at home, you realize that it is not that strict as far as it is done at school. Now, you need to conquer sleep while you are at home. It is not the time to compete with the dead in sleeping. You should know that one day when you die, you'll have enough hours of sleep. So you need to manage your time well. Because, again, the Bible warns us in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 10. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands, and poverty will come to you like an armed man, and scarcity like a bandit. So if you love a lot of sleep, you'll be poor. Poverty will come to you. You need to conquer laziness. Getting tired before you do the job. You wake up in the morning, you've not even read, you've not even studied, you've not even attended to home chores, but you already feel tired. So you need to conquer laziness. And I'll look at that when I'll talk about the second D, diligence. What else should you conquer? Wild desires. Wild desires. Wild sexual desires. You need to conquer greed. You need to conquer gluttony. You need to conquer anger and all that. Because if you are full of anger, then it means that you'll not even be in good terms with your siblings and with your parents. We know there are people now who are at loggerheads with their siblings. And they are at loggerheads with their parents, simply because they have had now enough time, plenty of scope to be with their relatives. And sometimes it is not easy to stay together and stick together. We need a lot of emotional intelligence for us to manage that. So conquer yourself. Self-conquest. Conquer temptations of the body. So that is what self-discipline is all about. Now, apart from self-discipline, as number one, number two, we talked about diligence. No. The second type of discipline, apart from self-discipline, is what we call external discipline. External discipline, the respect you give to other people, which is explored in terms of humility and obedience. Obedience is submission to authority. Humility is exercising a spirit of meekness. And meekness in this sense is not weakness. So, external discipline, humility, obedience. Obedience. Obeying your parents. Remaining humble while working from home, while learning from home. The third type of discipline is academic discipline. These are things that you do that help you to become academically thick. Proper time management, effective study habits or effective study skills, ensuring that you have your study schedule, and all that. Many things that make you academically thick. And the fourth type of discipline is what we call mind level discipline. Mind level. You need to cultivate the discipline of the mind. by controlling what comes into your mind, because it determines what comes out of your mind. The mind works like the computer principle, GIGO principle. Garbage in, garbage out. Positivity in, positivity out. Good in, good out. Bad in, bad out. So you have to control the gates of your mind. The eye, the ear, the mouth. What do you see? What do you hear? So, like now you're at home, you can watch any movie you want. You can listen to any program you want to listen to. You can do what you want, but you must cultivate mind-level discipline, because you may find yourself that you're likely to bewitch yourself if in case you don't control that. Because we can never operate in a manner inconsistent with our mental inputs. What you put into your mind is what it gives you. That is, if you understand the spheres of the mind, the conscious and the subconscious mind. Now, so discipline was the first D that I wanted you to master. And we have said discipline has to do with self-discipline. It has to do with external discipline. It has to do with academic discipline. And lastly, mind-level discipline. Let's get to the second D, diligence. Diligence is also what we call hard work. And hard work is a virtue. In CRE, we are taught about virtues and vices. Virtues are good deeds. Vices are bad deeds. Now, so one of the virtues that you need to cultivate while learning from home or while still at home because of the impacts of COVID-19 is that you ought to remain diligent at what you do. You need to know that you need to act. You need to know that as far as you have dreams, you want to be a lawyer in future, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a teacher, you want to be an engineer, you want to be an architect, and any other form of career. That's a dream. And having a dream is good because dreams are the seedlings of reality. One man's dream is another man's reality. But between dreams and reality, there is a bridge. And that bridge is basically action. Action. That is why we are underscoring the essence of diligence, which means that you have to work. You have to do it. You have to dream. You have to dare. But when all is said and done, you must do. There must be action. That is why we are saying, keep doing what is right. Keep reading. Keep employing the right study habits. Keep attending to home chores so that you don't get into loggerheads with your parents and your guardians. Act. Do something. And we captured here that one of the things you need to conquer is laziness. Getting tired before you do the job. Each day have what you call what to do list. Put down what you want to accomplish in a day. You can do that in the previous night, or you can do that in the morning. Get to know, today I want to do A, B, C, D. Then in the evening, you can do a review. You can look at what you have done so far. You can say that today I wanted to read A Doll's House, in case you're a candidate. I wanted to read Act 1 of A Doll's House. I wanted to do a topic in chemistry. I wanted to do also a topic in biology, maybe. A topic in maths. So in the evening, you review, did you manage to do that? If you're a standard 8 pupil, you say, today you wanted to write a composition. And apart from writing a composition, maybe you also wanted to do something else in science or in social studies. So you look at it in the evening and you examine, you assess yourself, and you say, did I really manage to achieve it? That is very, very important. So I'm calling upon every learner to be diligent at what he or she does. Apart from diligence, there is the aspect of determination. Determination. I know these times are tough. And I remember the last school that I spoke in before the president issued a directive. I was at Ogande Girls in Homa Bay. And I remember before speaking, some Form 1 and Form 2 students in their innocence asked, now with the outbreak of corona, does it mean that we will not continue with learning? Does it mean that the world is coming to an end? The world is not coming to an end. There is still hope. I know times are tough. I know some people look tensed and stressed in nature. But we ought to remain determined. Such times reminds us of what happened in America in the 1930s. There was something called the Great Depression. And the president of that time had to tell the people that we have nothing to fear but fear itself. This problem will come to pass. It is not going to stay long. When we talk about determination and connecting it to learning, again, I remember another president called Calvin Coolidge. Actually, this was the 32nd president, the 32nd POTUS. The 32nd POTUS. He's the one who said that there's nothing so powerful as persistence. That persistence and determination are very powerful. There's nothing so powerful as persistence. So we need to ensure that we remain persistent in what we do and determined. Quoting his words correctly, he said, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. There is nothing as common as unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. So we need to remain determined like a mule. Every learner who is listening to me, this thing will end. This disease will end because the world has faced a lot of challenges from its birth. And you realize that these challenges, the world has always managed to overcome. And that means that COVID-19 is not the end of everything. That is why you must remain conscious. For instance, if you're a candidate, remain conscious while learning from home. If you think that there will be no exams, if you think that there will be no learning, then you are lying to yourself. And you realize that this thing is going to hit us hard after the real disease itself. That is why as a learner, you must remain conscious and vigilant. Because when we get back to school, there will be a big difference between those who remained focused while at home and those who lost focus. That is why you must remain focused like a laser beam, so that you remain at par. You remain at par with other students who are doing something at this time. I want us to do a recap of what we have looked at so far. Now, we've talked about how to remain focused while learning from home. And we have underscored the essence of focus. We have said that you must remain focused like a laser beam. You are not in school, you are at home, but that does not mean that learning stops. Learning has to continue. So the only thing that will help you is that you need to remain focused. We have also underscored the essence of the role of parents in homeschooling, in helping our children to learn from home. And we have said that parents and guardians play a very central role. They must keep guiding their children. The same way children are guided at school, they also need guidance at home. And we have said in substance that learning is not just about academic aspect of learning. You realize that even the things that are not within academics ought to be learned. And we said that this is a time to learn or to teach your child how to be hygienic, teach the child about health, how to cook, how to milk, how to dig, how to weed, etc., etc., how to trim the fence, how to take care of the house and all that. Now, we have also said that there are different avenues we can explore learning. And we have said that if learning cannot take place in a classroom, and now we are confined in our homes, then we must take advantage of the digital platforms. And some of these digital platforms, we have said, there are people that are learning through WhatsApp, those chats that are very, very useful. Teachers help learners to get something. They share notes, they share assignments, useful stuff. People are learning through Zoom. People are learning through Google Classroom or Google Meet. We've also said that people can also learn through YouTube. If you have a smartphone and you have YouTube and you can access internet, then it means that you can learn. Watch speeches that can help you, watch documentaries, watch lessons that have been uploaded by teachers on YouTube. Very, very important. Now, apart from the digital platform, you can tune into useful TV channels, like now the KUTV, like what is happening now, and learn. Apart from that, you can also listen to useful radio programs and learn. Very, very important. Now, after looking at all that, we have looked at 3 basic Ds that will guide you to remain focused while learning from home. And the first D we have looked at is discipline. And we have said that discipline is very, very important. And we have explored 4 forms of discipline. Number 1 form is self-discipline, self-conquest, the ability to conquer yourself. And we have said that you as a learner, you ought to conquer a lot of things. Conquer laziness, conquer a lot of sleep, conquer anger, conquer greed, etc., etc. The other form of discipline we have said is external discipline, the respect you give to other people. And we have said that for you to be able to remain focused while learning from home, you must remain humble, you must practice humility, spirit of meekness, you must be obedient, submit to authority at home, submit to authority in any place. Very, very important. Apart from external discipline, we have looked at academic discipline, the things you do that can make you academically tick, cultivating a strong reading culture, having useful study habits or study skills or study methods, being a good steward of time, reading the notes that you're supposed to read, having the notes also, copying them and all that, cultivating the art of concentration, etc., etc. Then we have talked about mind level discipline, controlling what gets into your mind. by guarding the gates of your mind: the eye, the ear, the mouth. Very, very important. And something we didn't look at there, it's so important to remain self-driven. Don't behave like a wheelbarrow, that you have to be pushed for you to do things. Do them without being reminded, because it's about your life, it's about your future. Then we have looked at diligence. We have said that you have to exercise or practice diligence. And diligence, we have said, is equivalent to hard work. And hard work or diligence is a virtue. It's a good deed. And as we say, hard work pays. So you can reap a lot of benefits by being hardworking in nature. And lastly, we've looked at determination. And we have said that you must remain determined even during these hard times. I know you are stressed. I know things are tough. You can feel the pressure that your parents are going through, your guardians, but don't lose focus. Remain focused, because this dust of disease and death is going to settle soon. And when it settles, we shall have another opportunity to bounce back and to get back to school. And when we get back to school, we shall pick the pieces and we shall continue with life. Because life has to continue. Come rain, come shine. Come hell, come high waters, life has to continue. So, in my parting shots, I want to urge you to go for excellence as you remain focused while learning from home. Very, very important. So I want you to remain focused. And I want you to exercise excellence as you remain focused. Become the better version of yourself even when you're at home. And that makes me close with the great words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was speaking in one of the schools in 1967 called Barrett Junior High School at Philadelphia in USA. He told the children, the students, the learners, to become the best of whatever they are. He told them, if you find yourself to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth shall pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper that swept his job well. If you can't be a pine on top of the hill, be a shrub on the side of the valley. But be the best little shrub on the side of the hill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, just be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or fail, but be the best of whatever you are. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep on moving. That if a man can write a better book, or preach a better sermon, or build a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even if he builds his house in the woods, the world would make a beaten path to his door. That has been true, and that shall be increasingly true. So thank you very much. I'm Victor Ochieng. Till we meet next time. To know more of what I do, maybe to access my books. I'm a published author of 8 books, 8 titles. I also write with Nation, as I captured in the beginning. And I work with schools, as I said. You can log into my website, www.godspenconsultancy.co.ke. www.godspenconsultancy.co.ke. You can get more of what I do there. Yes. Thank you very much. So we shall build from that base. There are other topics that would love to explore that can be of immense benefit to learners, especially during this time. We shall see how to even. Thank you very much. I want to wish you a blessed day.